I kissed the wrong man during a blackout. It was supposed to be a perfect night, a friend's wedding. The hall went dark, the generator hiccuped, and everybody laughed. Nervous, happy sound in the sudden intimacy of the room. Then the music died, and the silence felt heavy. By habit, I reached for Armand. I knew his cologne, his height, the way he stood. A gentle mouth found mine in the dark, and for a moment, it was perfect. We both laughed quietly when the lights flickered back on, but Armand was across the room, looking confused. The man I'd just kissed was a complete stranger. He smiled at me like he was holding on to a secret that belonged to both of us now. He found me the next day near the florist, as if he'd always known the map of my feet. He was handsome, polite, with a slightly old-fashioned charm that was hard to resist. He said he'd felt a spark in the dark, a real connection. I laughed it off, joking about romance, cliches, and love at first sight. He didn't laugh. His smile faded just a little, and his eyes were serious when he said, "Some sparks are contracts." The words hung in the air between us, colder than the spring morning. It started with small kindnesses, things you'd almost mistake for luck. An umbrella would appear in my bag just minutes before it started to rain. My bus would pull up to the stop the very second I arrived. He seemed to know what I was thinking, answering my text messages before I even had a chance to press send. It was sweet at first. Then it got strange. One evening, I got home and realized I'd forgotten my keys. As I stood on the porch, panicking, I heard the deadbolt click from the inside, locking the door. He texted me a moment later. The word "unmanaged" sent a shiver down my spine. Later that week, I didn't reply to his messages for an hour. My phone buzzed uncontrollably. When I finally looked, it was filled with photos of me walking home, dozens of them, taken from behind, from rooftops, and from the reflection in shop windows I hadn't even glanced at. He told me his name in a language that felt like it breathed fire and salt into the air. The letters hurt my mouth to even think about. I asked him what he did for a living, trying to ground him in my world. He just smiled, that same secret smile. "I keep house," he said. That night, I understood what he meant. The mirrors in my apartment started sweating, covered in a thick, cold fog. In the bathroom, I wiped the condensation from the glass to see my face, and for a split second, I wiped his away too. His cheek was right there in the fog, next to my, not a reflection of someone in the room, but something living inside the glass itself. "Show me your real face," I whispered to the mirror, my voice trembling. The fog swirled. The handsome mask he wore slid aside like paint, dissolving in bathwater. What I saw underneath had eyes like candle wicks, turned inward, burning from the inside out. It had teeth that didn't need a mouth to be terrifying, and a form made of bones that seemed to prefer smoke over flesh. He asked to kiss me again, his voice as calm and steady as if he were asking for a glass of water. I said no, my heart pounding in my chest. He didn't shout or get angry. He just said, so quietly it was almost a whisper, "If you give your mouth to a door, the house belongs to the door." After that, my world began to shrink. Every time a man's voice was on the other end of a phone call, the line would go dead. I tried to access my bank account, but the automated system asked me to verify my voice and then told me I didn't exist. I called my mother, but her number was always busy. A moment later, a text came from her phone. It read, "She'll call when she's free." But I wasn't free. I was home, and I was owned. In desperation, I went to my Auntie Safa, the one who sells perfume and quiet wisdom from her tiny, crowded shop. I told her everything, watching as her hands usually busy with amber bottles and silk tassels, became completely still. "A jinn loves like a house loves," she said, her voice low and steady. "It loves with rooms and windows and locks. It doesn't understand leaving." "How do I leave?" I asked, my voice breaking. "You don't," she replied, her eyes meeting mine. "You return." She reached under the counter and gave me 4 things: a chipped hand mirror, a small brass bell without a clapper, a bowl of salt water, and a heavy, old-fashioned iron key. "Return the kiss," she instructed, "to the mouth that is not his." At midnight, I began the ritual. I drew a thin, sharp line of salt across my doorstep, the threshold where the house and the night shake hands. I placed the small mirror against the door jamb, facing into my apartment, so the room itself became a mouth in the reflection. Then I took the iron key and slid it under my tongue. The cold metal a stark reminder of its power. Iron is a word that even the jinn must respect. I waited. He came as a breeze, stirring the curtains even though all the windows were sealed shut. He materialized in the room, wearing that handsome, familiar face. "I want to leave," I said, my voice steadier than I expected, the iron cool against my tongue. "You can't," he replied simply. "You gave." "Then I'm giving it back." I dipped 2 fingers into the bowl of salt water and touched them to my lips. The taste was sharp, like forgetting. Then I leaned forward and kissed the mirror, not his reflection, but the reflection of the empty room behind him, the open space that was the true mouth of the house. He rushed forward, his handsome face sliding away like a wrong coat, revealing the furious, possessive thing beneath. He tried to kiss me, to reclaim what was his, but he lunged at the glass. He found the iron of the key, hidden behind my lips, between him and me. The mirror buckled, flexing inward like a thin sheet of metal in a storm. As he was trapped against the glass, I took the bell without a clapper and breathed my own breath into its silent mouth. The air in the house was pulled hard towards it, as if something enormous had just inhaled. The bell's opening now belonged to the room, to the breath I had just given it. "Go," I commanded, and I called him by the name that hurt my mouth to speak the name of fire and salt he had given me that first night. Each letter was a curse. He didn't go to the door. He went where the breath led him. He was pulled from the mirror, a screaming vortex of smoke and rage, and funneled into the tiny, silent mouth of the bell. As the last of him disappeared inside, the bell rang once, an impossible, clear, and final note. The house exhaled. The mirrors cleared instantly. My phone, which had been buzzing like a disturbed hive, went silent. I called Auntie Safa. She told me to seal the bell in a tin box, surround it with salt, and never, ever kiss a doorway again. "Why?" I asked, my voice weak with relief. "Because doors, remember?" she said gravely. "And he will too. If you give a door your mouth once, it will always want another." I did as she said, sealing the bell away and hiding it where no one would ever find it. I deleted the photos. I changed my number. I learned to stop looking too closely at my reflection in mirrors. I thought it was over. Tonight, a friend texted me, worried because I'd been so distant. "Send a selfie so I know you're okay," she wrote. I hesitated, then turned on my phone's front camera. I forced a smile, and my smile answered back from the screen, but with someone else's breath fogging the inside of the glass. My phone felt warm in my hand, warm like a mouth I'd already given myself to. I texted back, "I'm fine." Then I put the phone face down on the table, like a bell without a clapper, and listened for the sound of breathing in the silence of my room. It wasn't mine.